What is family? Is it the people whose genetic makeup you inherited? The family friends, distant relatives, or loving strangers that took you in and cared for you when your parents couldn't? The friends or partner you chose and who chose you right back? The truth is that family is difficult to define because it means different things to different people. For this activity, I asked in advance for my 4 audience members to create a list of words they associate with the different family dynamics. I then used artificial intelligence to create artwork based on their prompts. These are the visuals you are currently viewing, arranged in no particular order. Now, given that family comes in so many different shapes and sizes, I think it's important to discuss some American misconceptions and expectations regarding family, and hopefully we can debunk and reconstruct these ideals together. The nuclear family became the most common family system in the United States in the 1960s. It consisted of 2 parents, a man and a woman. Imagery will sometimes depict a nice loving dog and typically 2.5 children. That number is based on the average number of children in American households. These families are almost always white, with a working father and stay-at-home mother. It was framed as the standard for American families, and even nowadays, many people still consider it to represent the pinnacle of family structures. Oftentimes, when referencing the nuclear family, you'll hear people stress the importance of returning to these ideals and their beliefs that current family systems are falling apart. However, I'm here to tell you that this isn't the case. Family systems are changing, yes, but not falling apart. To understand this, it's important to be able to look at other cultures and people from other backgrounds outside of the white American idealism. In collectivist cultures, family is multi-generational, consisting of grandparents, parents, and children, often all residing under the same roof. The idea is essentially that all parts of the family are essential in some way. The grandparents cared for their children, who then became adults, and now those children care for their parents in their old age. The adult or the elders often care for the young children, and the young children learn to help out in areas they can provide assistance. There is a heavy emphasis on attending to those around you and embedding yourself within the group identity, as everything is essentially a cycle of caring for those around you at different stages. This kind of family system can often create a burden to fit in or to be accepted by the overall group. This is compared to an individualistic culture where people typically want to stand out and separate themselves from the group. There is more pressure on children to grow up and move away from their home to start their own lives once they become adults. Depending on the families, this could mean pressure from parents wanting freedom from their child or wanting their child to take on more responsibilities of their own. It could also mean children attempting to grow up and separate themselves in whatever way they think is most effective at gaining their perceived notion of independence. The current divorce rate in the United States is 3.2% to the 1,000 population, and it has actually been reported that the number of divorces has dropped steadily since 1995. Now, is it that everyone is magically working out their differences at a much better rate than in the past, or could it be something else? One theory for this is that more couples are cohabitating or engaging in a committed relationship, even sometimes with children, without actually being married. An example of this would be gay and lesbian couples. Prior to LGBTQIA+ marriage laws being overturned, another possible explanation is that people are waiting to get married until they feel that they have a true sense of stability. Hence, they are often dating around while they're young and going through breakups more before eventually settling down at a more mature age when they feel more sure of their decisions. Now, while divorce rates are down, they are certainly still prevalent. Divorce can look different for every family, especially if children are involved. It often means splitting up property and assets, and sometimes a parent will be required to pay child support. Sometimes parents will work things out amongst themselves and create a custody agreement that works amicably, without involving legal advisors. Other times, the topic of custody can create a legal battle that can be emotionally draining for both child and parent. While the idea of separation may seem disturbing for some parents, worried about how their child will cope with divorce, it's important to remember that divorce is very common, and it's more effective to be open and honest with your child, while offering support and showing them that both parents can get along, than it is to hide things from them or fight in front of them. Some families will split custody 50-50. Sometimes it'll be weekdays versus weekends or every other week, and sometimes children will only live with one parent and have supervised visits with the other parent. Being a single parent can be an incredibly taxing job, whether an individual has full custody after a separation, has chosen to use a sperm or egg donor, has adopted, is widowed or is a widower, has a partner who is incarcerated, or perhaps doesn't know who the father of their child is. Providing for a child on your own is expensive and exhausting, especially if you have a lower economic status. That's why it's often important for single parents to have help from their loved ones and communities. This can lead to community or shared living, sometimes even polygamy, in which individuals will live together and share tasks like housework and childcare. We've also seen the emergence of many blended families over the past few years. This means individuals with children from prior relationships are entering into relationships with one another. Oftentimes, these kids of relationships can create a very spread out family tree, as there will be step-siblings, step-parents, new step-relatives, and often half-siblings. These non-blood relationships are another form of a non-traditional family system. There are also many individuals who are currently homeless or orphaned, as they or their parents fell victim to drug or alcohol abuse, mental health issues, domestic violence, or poor socioeconomic status. Often individuals in similar situations will pull together in these difficult environments as they learn to rely on one another. Similar to family friends taking in kids in need or individuals interested in fostering and adoption. Wealthier individuals are much more likely to be able to afford routes like adoption and surrogacy, along with proper prenatal care and child care. However, sometimes more well-off gay and lesbian couples will be favored by certain adoption agencies as a sort of last resort option, meaning if they really need to place a child in a home, they often know that queer couples looking to adopt will jump at the opportunity. This also has to do with white favoritism in adoption and a sort of curated mentality that unfortunately leaves minority children as a last pick. Individuals with fewer assets often rely on their communities and loved ones for help. This is why in many poorer areas, communities is such an important aspect of life. Minority groups are also at risk for less access to prenatal care and health care, resulting in a much higher mortality rate. This is specifically due to lack of insurance and disposable income, as well as the age-old racist medical misconception that minority women have a much higher pain tolerance than white women. Hence, they require less care and pain management. This ignorance results in the deaths of thousands of women every year. It's clear that there are so many different family structures just within the United States alone, all emerging out of circumstance, but influenced by race, gender, sexuality, religion, age, and social class. Many wealthier families that model themselves after the nuclear family experience unhappiness and isolation from the outside world and a lack of a sense of community. And many individuals from less privileged backgrounds can find a way to create a strong sense of home and family in order to survive. Family takes many forms, and our idea of what a family is constantly changing and evolving. It's important to make peace with this idea and not to worry about family dynamic systems falling apart, as they will always exist in one form or another.